If you're over 60 and still pouring whatever's in your fridge, you could be gambling with your bones, your joints, and even your memory. Studies have linked certain types of milk to higher inflammation, worse insulin control, and, yes, an increased risk of fractures in older adults. Today, I'll walk you through the 4 milks seniors should avoid and the 4 milks you should never skip every day. Practical swaps, label cues, and how to use each milk are all coming up. If you want clear, science-backed swaps for seniors, hit subscribe. I'll keep this practical and easy to act on. Worst milk number 4, sweetened almond milk. Picture pouring a glass that tastes faintly nutty and sweet, then checking the label and seeing sugar or cane sugar near the top of the ingredient list. The problem? Many flavored or sweetened almond milks contain added sugars and very little actual almond content. For older adults, extra added sugar matters more because insulin sensitivity tends to drop with age. Research has linked high added sugar intake to greater belly fat and worsening blood sugar control in older adults. In practical terms, that means higher fasting glucose and more insulin spikes after meals. The mechanism is simple. Added sugars jumpstart blood sugar and insulin responses, and over time, that drives metabolic stress and inflammation, 2 things that make bone loss and joint pain more likely. Swap: choose unsweetened, calcium-fortified almond milk with a short ingredient list. How to use? Almond milk is great in morning smoothies or poured over oats. If you miss sweetness, add a handful of berries or a pinch of cinnamon rather than buying the pre-sweetened versions. Read the label for unsweetened and calcium-fortified and avoid those with long lists of gums, sugar, or natural flavors. Now here's a stealthier problem: unfortified oat milk. Worst milk number 3, unfortified oat milk. Oat milk surged in popularity because it tastes creamy and works beautifully in coffee. But many plain oat milks are low in key bone-supporting nutrients: calcium, vitamin D, magnesium, and often vitamin K2. They're also higher in net carbohydrates compared with other milks, and sometimes contain phytic acid from oats that can reduce mineral absorption. For seniors who already face age-related declines in calcium absorption and vitamin D production, choosing an unfortified oat milk can leave you drinking a creamy beverage that contributes little to bone health and may worsen post-meal blood sugar spikes. Research shows that plant milks without fortification don't reliably deliver the minerals older adults need. Swap? If you like oat milk, choose an unsweetened variety that's specifically labeled as calcium and vitamin D fortified, ideally with added magnesium. How to use? Fortified unsweetened oat milk works well in coffee or in overnight oats. For a bone-friendly breakfast, add a source of protein like Greek-style yogurt or a scoop of protein powder to balance the carbs. Many ganchos. Not all plant milks are created equal. Fortification matters. Worst milk number 2, flavored lactose-free milk. This one looks innocent because it's labeled lactose-free and seems targeted at people who can't tolerate lactose. But flavored lactose-free milks, chocolate, vanilla, or barista blends, frequently contain hidden sugars and emulsifiers. Some research has linked sweetened lactose-free and flavored milk products with higher post-meal insulin levels and greater belly fat accumulation in older adults because the lactose has been broken down into simpler sugars, and companies often add extra sweeteners to improve taste. The mechanism? When lactose is pre-broken down and extra sugars are added, the glycemic load goes up. For seniors with borderline blood sugar or central weight gain, that extra sugar is not harmless. Swap. Choose plain, unsweetened lactose-free milk if you need lactose-free options. Flavor it yourself with a dash of cinnamon, fresh berries, or cocoa powder. How to use? Use plain lactose-free milk in cereal, in warm drinks, or in cooking. If you want a flavored drink, blend plain lactose-free milk with half a frozen banana and a tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa for a controlled sugar treat. Read labels for no added sugars and minimal ingredient lists. Worst milk number 1, ultra-pasteurized A1 cow's milk. This is the one I want you to pause on before pouring a glass. Ultra-pasteurization, the high-heat processing used to extend shelf life, changes proteins and destroys some native enzymes. Many conventional cow's milks also contain the beta-casein A1 protein, which a growing body of research associates with low-grade gastrointestinal inflammation and other inflammatory markers in sensitive people. In older adults, chronic low-grade inflammation is linked to worse joint pain, slower muscle recovery, and may even be associated with higher fracture risk. One study cited in discussions of dairy and aging suggested a substantially higher fracture risk tied to certain dairy patterns in older adults. Other clinical reports have connected A1 protein to digestive discomfort and inflammatory signals in some people. Swap. Consider A2 cow's milk, goat milk, or fermented milk such as kefir instead of conventional ultra-pasteurized A1 milk. How to use? If you love cow's milk, look for full-fat A2 milk or A2 labeled milk that is minimally processed. If you experience digestive upset with regular milk, try goat milk or a fermented option for a 2-week trial and observe how you feel. Important label cues: A2, pasteurized rather than ultra-pasteurized, and minimal additives. Midway note: if this is landing with you, like the video and leave a quick comment with your age and general location. It helps us understand our community and what people over 60 actually drink. Now for the better news, the milks you can add every day to support bones, gut health, and metabolic balance. Best milk number 4, goat milk. Goat milk is often overlooked, but it's a great option for many older adults. Why it helps? Goat milk naturally contains a higher proportion of A2-type proteins, smaller fat globules, and a slightly different mineral profile that many people digest more easily than conventional cow's A1 milk. Those smaller fat droplets and the protein structure can reduce bloating and make calcium and other minerals easier to absorb. Goat milk also supplies selenium, a trace mineral important for thyroid function and immune support, plus a good dose of calcium and phosphorus. Research and clinical observations suggest that people with mild dairy sensitivity often fare better with goat milk. Swap. Replace 1 glass of conventional milk per day with goat milk for a trial period. How to use? Warm a small cup of goat milk with a sprinkle of cinnamon for an evening drink, or pour it over porridge. Goat milk makes a creamy base for soups and light desserts. Buying tip: choose pasteurized goat milk from a source that discloses pasture or feed practices if possible. Best milk number 3, unsweetened calcium-fortified almond milk. This is one of the simplest daily wins. Unsweetened almond milk contains no lactose or casein, so it avoids the dairy proteins that can bother some seniors. The important caveat: plain almond milk is naturally low in calcium, so the key is choosing versions fortified with calcium, vitamin D, and magnesium, the trio that supports bone mineralization and nerve muscle function. Many fortified almond milks also include vitamin E, which is an antioxidant that supports brain health. A useful way to assess a product is to check the nutrition facts. Look for at least 20% of the daily value for calcium per serving and added vitamin D. Swap. If you currently drink sweetened plant milks, swap to an unsweetened calcium-fortified almond milk. How to use? Use it in smoothies, oats, or coffee. Almond milk blends well with protein powders for a bone-friendly breakfast shake. Buying tip: prefer short ingredient lists and avoid added sugars, carrageenan, or artificial thickeners when possible. Best milk number 2, kefir. This is where gut health and bone health meet. Kefir is a fermented milk product rich in diverse strains of live bacteria and yeasts, a probiotic powerhouse. Why it matters? A healthy gut microbiome aids mineral absorption, reduces systemic inflammation, and helps regulate immune responses. Some clinical studies in older adults have shown improvements in balance, markers of inflammation, and slower bone loss markers with regular fermented dairy consumption. Research also points to vitamin K2 produced during fermentation, which helps direct calcium into bone rather than into soft tissues. For seniors, even a small daily dose of kefir can boost gut diversity and support the cascade of benefits that follow. Swap. Replace 1 daily snack or dessert with a small glass of plain kefir. How to use? Drink a 4 to 6 ounce glass of plain kefir each morning, stir it into smoothies or overnight oats, or use it as a base for chilled soups. Buying tip: choose plain, live culture kefir with minimal added sugars. If dairy is an issue, there are also fermented non-dairy kefir-like products, but the dairy versions usually provide the full spectrum of bone-supporting nutrients. Best milk number 1, full-fat A2 milk. Save the best for last. Full-fat A2 milk combines several advantages for seniors: an A2 beta-casein profile that is generally easier on digestion for many people, the full complement of milk fat-soluble vitamins, and a calorie density that supports muscle and brain energy in older adults who may struggle to eat enough. Emerging research comparing A1 to A2 milk suggests reduced gastrointestinal symptoms and lower inflammatory markers with A2 in sensitive individuals. Full-fat milk also supplies vitamin K2 when it comes from high-quality sources like pasture-fed animals, and vitamin K2 is increasingly recognized for its role in directing calcium into bone tissue. For seniors trying to maintain muscle mass and cognitive health, the fat in whole A2 milk is not something to fear. Fat helps with absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and provides steady energy. Swap: if you tolerate cow's milk, try switching a serving a day from standard A1 ultra-pasteurized varieties to full-fat A2 milk, preferably from pasture-fed sources. How to use: warm a cup before bed, add to your morning cereal, or use it in recipes. For extra bone support, pair it with a calcium-rich food or a small serving of fermented dairy like kefir. Buying tip: look for A2 on the label. Choose full fat if your healthcare provider agrees, and prefer milk that's pasteurized rather than ultra-pasteurized if shelf life is not required. Practical label reading checklist you can use right now. Always scan the top half of the ingredient list and the nutrition facts panel. Look first for unsweetened and no added sugar. Check the ingredient list for added sweeteners, hydrocolloids like carrageenan, or long lists of emulsifiers. Shorter is generally better. On the nutrition facts, look for calcium and vitamin D values. Fortified plant milks should provide a meaningful percentage of daily calcium, not trace amounts. Seek A2 if choosing cow's milk, and live cultures or kefir for fermented options. Prefer pasteurized over ultra-pasteurized when possible, and if full-fat options fit your personal health picture, note the fat source and whether animals were pasture-fed. Most importantly, look for unsweetened and fortified as primary win conditions. Quick practical swaps you can try today. If you drink sweetened almond milk, switch to unsweetened calcium-fortified almond milk and add fruit or cinnamon for flavor. If your oat milk is unfortified, either swap to a fortified variety or alternate with fortified almond milk. If you enjoy flavored lactose-free milk, move to plain lactose-free milk and DIY the flavor. If your fridge holds conventional ultra-pasteurized cow's milk and you have GI discomfort or joint stiffness, try a 2-week swap to full-fat A2 or add a daily 4 to 6 ounces of kefir and track symptoms. Small tests, 2 weeks at a time, can show you which changes truly make a difference. A few final evidence notes and cautions. When I say a milt is associated with inflammation or metabolic shifts, that phrasing is deliberate. Much of the research shows associations or benefits across groups. Individual responses vary. A 2021 study discussed in nutrition circles found changes in gut and metabolic markers tied to different dairy proteins, and other research through 2022 has supported the role of fermented dairy and vitamin K2 in bone health. Still, if you have osteoporosis, diabetes, or a complex medical history, use these swaps as starting points and discuss them with your clinician. This video summarizes research for information only. For personalized medical advice, check with your healthcare provider. Before we wrap up, here's a simple morning routine you can adopt. Pour a small glass of unsweetened, calcium-fortified almond milk into your oatmeal or smoothie for breakfast. Mid-morning, enjoy 4 to 6 ounces of kefir as a probiotic boost. At lunch or dinner, use goat milk or A2 milk in cooking or with cereal. And if you want a nightcap, warm a small cup of full-fat A2 milk with cinnamon. That routine gives you protein, probiotics, fat-soluble vitamins, and fortified calcium across the day. Small steps that add up. Final checklist to keep on your phone or fridge. 1. Avoid sweetened plant milks and flavored lactose-free milks that hide added sugars. 2. Don't rely on unfortified plant milks as your sole calcium source. 3. Be skeptical of ultra-pasteurized A1 cow's milk if you have digestion or inflammation concerns. Try A2 or fermented alternatives. 4. Add at least one fermented dairy, kefir, or a fortified plant milk daily, and consider goat milk or full-fat A2 as gentler, nutrient-dense options. Read labels for unsweetened, calcium-fortified A2 and live cultures. If this video helped you, please share it with a friend or family member over 60 who pours milk straight from the fridge without thinking twice. Drop your age and location in the comments. I'd love to know where our community is tuning in from. And subscribe for more science-backed practical tips for aging well. Quick legal reminder to include on screen and description, this video summarizes research for informational purposes. For personalized medical advice, consult your healthcare provider. Thanks for watching. Small changes to what's in your glass can protect the things that matter: your bones, your gut, and your ability to stay active and independent. See you next time.